Welcome to today's class. We're going to be talking all about how to be able to choose your size when you're picking up a garment or knitting or crocheting a garment. So first of all, I want to tell you that sometimes picking your size can be really daunting. When you're looking at designers come and say, oh, you want this much ease, you want whatever. It can be a little bit nerve-wracking to be able to actually figure out what your size is. But the main thing to know is that it is the easiest to be able to figure out your size by taking your measurements. So first things first, hi, my name is Chantal. My name is Chantal Miyagishima, and I am the owner and designer behind Knititude. Knititude is 10 plus years old at this point, but I've actually been designing since 2016. I am mostly known for my potty mouth and my purple hair, but outside of that, I am a massive romance reader. I also have 2 wiener dogs. I love sloths, and I actually work in advertising. I'm a copywriter for an agency here in Calgary, and essentially I love all things marketing and designing and knitting. So to be able to start this off, I want to start this off with positivity. Measuring yourself can be extremely triggering. I think there's a lot of society standards and a lot of fashion industry pressures that essentially tell us that like a number is what values your worth. And I want to just immediately put my foot down there and stop that before we even get into that point, because that is not what this is about. A number is just a number. And I want you to be looking for those glimmers, which is like making a pattern fit versus those triggers. So if you have any of that anxiety or negativity that is coming into you about the idea of measuring yourself, I just want you to drop kick that away, because society standards are bullshit. The fashion industry, when it comes to sizing, is also bullshit. We're just wanting to be able to take our measurements to be able to find out what size fits us best. So the first thing to know is how are garments even sized in general. When it comes to knitting, there's actually standardized sizing. You'll usually see things that come from like places like Craft Yarn Council. There's a few like Ysolda has her own like standardized sizing, but mainly it is all of this information put all together to be able to amalgamate standardized sizing. So these essentially are guides for designers to be able to use to figure out what to try and fit as many people as possible. But the one thing to know is that standardized sizing is standardized sizing and everybody is unique. So we are not all standards, and that's okay. We're going to actually get into how to be able to make some modifications and like which ones to be able to choose, etc. a little bit later in this. But the main thing to know is that designers essentially do everything and make sizes based off of standardized sizing. So like Craft Yarn Council. So these, as I've listed right here, are all of the femme measurements for bust circumferences. So the main thing to know is that when you are picking your size, 99.9% of the time you're going to be picking from your bust or your chest circumference. Craft Yarn Council has both male and female. I like to call them femme and non-femme, just because obviously we want to be inclusive for non-binary and other genders. But one thing to note is that they each go up by 4-inch increments, and essentially you will take your chest or bust circumference, which we're going to actually teach you how to be able to do, and you're going to slot yourself into one of the ones that is over here. If you are in between these sizes, again, they go up by 4-inch increments. If you are in between, it means that you get to kind of choose based off of ease, which brings us into a really good point. So ease, what does ease mean? I'm sure everyone has been checking on Ravelry, Etsy, people's websites, designer websites, and sometimes they see things like this garment is meant and intended to be worn with 4 to 6 inches of positive ease. And you're like, what does that even mean? 4 and 6 inches are not the same. But the one thing to know is that ease is a difference between your physical measurements and the finished dimensions. So let's take example, the slide that we had before, which a large was a 40 to 42 inch bust. So if I'm a designer and I have a 40-inch bust and I want to create something with 6 inches of positive ease, it would mean that my finished dimensions of that finished piece would be 46 inches. Since obviously by Craft Yarn Council standards, a large is a 40 to a 42-inch bust, that means that the 42 is on the higher end of the large, is going to have 4 inches of ease. So the main thing to know is that when you see these types of things, It's the difference between your physical measurement as well as the finished measurement and circumference of the finished product. So can you choose your own ease? Absolutely. If you say have a sweater that is in your closet and you're like, I love this one fits so well, it always looks good, what you can do is that you can take that sweater out, lay it flat, and then take a tape measure and go across the bust level. You times that by 2, and that's the circumference. So say that you end up having, again, let's use our large, so a 40-inch bust, and say that the finished circumference of your favorite sweater is 50. That would mean that you love 10 inches of positive ease. So you could choose your size based off of that as well. So let's actually get into taking your measurements. So the things that you're going to need is you're going to need a fabric or loose tape measure, your body, as well as your everyday undergarments. And I say your everyday undergarments because these are the things that you're going to be wearing with your sweater all the time. If you are a person who, example, I'm going by femme ideas, if you wear a push-up bra all the time, you should probably be taking your measurements with a push-up bra because that is what is going to be underneath your garments all the time. If you are not a person who uses a push-up bra, you should probably just take your everyday garments that you're going to end up using. So let's go through taking your bust measurement. So again, we're going to take our tape measure and we're going to do our bust. And we're going to specifically look at wrapping around the fullest part. So if I am facing sideways, I want to make sure that I am going towards the fullest part of my bust. So I'm going to take my tape measure, I'm going to wrap it around my back, I'm going to bring it over the fullest part of my bust. And the one thing to know is that I don't want to breathe in and I don't want to breathe out too much. You want to make sure that you're at a resting state and just kind of sitting there. So right now I am a 36.5 inch bust. You can also choose to do your upper bust measurement. So if you are a person that you find that your shoulder span is actually quite a considerable bit smaller than your waist and you're having things fall off, you could also choose your size by going by your upper bust measurement, which essentially, again, you're gonna stand up and you're gonna go underneath the armpits, you're gonna go above. Again, don't breathe in too much, don't breathe out too much. You want that in that resting state, and you're going to grab that as well. So my upper chest is 35. The one thing is that, again, mainly the measurement that you want to be taking is going to be your full bust. But again, if you have very narrow shoulders and you're finding things are slipping off, you can also choose by your upper bust. I will say that not as many designs are prepped for this, and they're mainly your full bust, but I just wanted to put that out too. So let's say you have found your size, you've gone through Craft Yarn Council, you've kind of like taken some of your measurements, and you want to make some modifications. So the advantage is that sweaters are like blueprints, like designs are literally blueprints for a reason. We get to move different stitches around, we can add length, we can do so many different things, but those again are all based off of your measurements as well. So being able to, example, compare your measurements to Craft Yarn Council and starting to take a look. Again, earlier I was talking that I have a medium like bust, but I have a large like waist, and then I have a extra large hip. That might mean that I might want to make some modifications if it's a bottom up sweater and cast on a larger size, then go slightly smaller. I can always kind of play with it. So the one thing to know is that you can always compare your measurements with the standardized sizing to see where you might want to actually make those changes. And I will say that the places that I definitely suggest checking would be your waist, your hips, your upper arm, your torso length, and your arm length. So when you're actually making those sizes, I want you to make sure that you are grabbing yours, going at the smallest for your waist, smallest part of your body, Again, don't breathe in, don't try and exhale. Make sure that you are getting that at a resting state. Again, taking from the smallest part of your waist. When it comes to your hips, you want to be taking the largest where your bum protrudes, and you want to cross it across the hips, making sure that you go horizontal, and then choosing from there as well. When it goes to torso length, you want to be taking from your underarm, your armpit, down to about hips. You can also double check by going to your waist to see how long that is. And then I also find the upper arm is a little bit trickier to be able to get. You might need to take a friend, but essentially I will go along the bicep. Again, don't flex. You want to make sure that that is not completely against your body, but still not cinching, but just kind of lying there. So that's how you can essentially take your upper arm, as well as you can do arm length. So fun fact, I have realized that I have gorilla arms, or orangutan arms. I think the average length for a human's like arm length is 19 inches, and I am a 21 inch in length. So I essentially have to add additional length to all of my sweaters. Essentially, I hope this helped you essentially get the confidence when picking your size. I know that, again, picking your size can be kind of nerve-wracking, a little bit daunting, and I know that especially choosing your own and like doing your own measurements can be triggering, but the main thing to know is that by taking your measurements, that is how you're going to be able to figure out how to make the best fitting sweater. So I hope that helped you. I really enjoyed teaching this nice quick course. If you ever want to email me, you're totally welcome to. I am reachable on social media. You can find me underneath Knititude, as well as you can, of course, email me at knititude@gmail.com. So have a wonderful rest of your day. I hope you enjoyed this presentation, and I hope you got a little bit more confidence about how to be able to pick the perfect size from your measurements.